So for this episode, this interview, however we're calling them, I'm joined by Lizzie, Elizabeth Ann Day, an
Oh,
artist
hi.
from an artist from Fife, living and working in Dundee, with a research-based practice. Elizabeth or Lizzie, yeah, because I've never really called you Elizabeth ever
No,
since
I
I
don't
met
think
you.
anybody ever has.
Lizzie has an interest in fads, archives, and collectibles. Of late, she's been working more and more on collaborative endeavours such as Vote Gallery, which she co-founded and co-curates, and the newly launched arts publication Windfall, and in her day-to-day job as a visitor assistant and freelance designer at V&A Dundee. Hello, Lizzie.
Hi.
How are you doing? How are you doing?
I'm well, thanks, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm doing okay, thank you. I'm doing
Bopping
okay.
along.
Yeah. What I was actually like, what I realised when I kind of invited you to do this is, I've known you since, well, we met when we both went to DJ CAD and we were living together in first year. But in all those years, we've kind of, especially in the first couple of years at uni, we were like kind of always bouncing things like ideas off each other and being like really kind of sharing inspirations and just being kind of really invested in what each other were doing. But we never actually had like a collaboration until Windfall last year.
Yeah. Which is a bit mad. I think actually weirdly, like really throwing it back to like 2014, which is when we first met. Really throwing it back, it was 6 years ago, wasn't it? I mean, come on. But there was a collaborative project that Eugene Gender Foundation at DJ CAD, and I, for whatever reason, was like, I'm gonna be a designer. So like fucked off to try a design module, and you and our lovely friend Barry Cormack ended up doing that module together. And I think in hindsight, if I hadn't taken that design module, like the three of us would have tried to like do something together, or just me and Barry, or just me and you, or like whatever. Like I feel like that would have been the time that we like started a collaboration. But for whatever reason, my brain was like, I'm gonna be a communication designer, and then I went and did that module and I was like, no, I'm not.
I did the exact same, but I think I did the module either just before or just after you, and it was the kind of graphic design one. And it's kind of funny how like swings and roundabouts, I was always torn between fine art and graphic design, but then I think the more and more I did it, I was like, yeah, I'm not a graphic designer. But
I mean,
a lot of what I'm doing now is like in my job is so much graphic design, and
I mean, technically, as fine art graduates, we're legally allowed to be graphic designers, which I would question, but sure.
Really, is that like
that's true? Yeah, you can do that. You can be like, I'm a fine art graduate, therefore I learned Photoshop.
Because that's what it is.
That's what it is. Just
no,
Photoshop. No, graphic designers, we love you. Don't hate us.
No, but like a lot of the stuff that I've been doing recently for work, and I've been doing like a lot of new stuff that I hadn't done before, and like using different packages. And like it wasn't actually until last month that I started using After Effects. Like I hadn't used After Effects before.
Oh, I've never done that.
Just to make some like animated stuff. But I was showing like another pal, Fabio, who I'll also be having a chat with this weekend, and he's just loving it because he's like, see, you are a graphic designer, because
he is a graphic designer,
and he's always trying to like sway me onto the dark path of graphic design. And to be honest, I feel like that's part of where my heart lies, is graphic design and publications and all that.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think like a good art practice, like a good contemporary art practice, is like a balance of all those things. Like we live in a social media age. If you don't have good branding, you're fucked. Like, let's be real. Exactly. So like, I mean, all these things come into play so intensely, and I'm very grateful for for our little crash course in Photoshop in uni. But it's always been beneficial.
Especially like, I suppose right now, well, I don't know about you, like we'll kind of come on to this, but in the last year I've found it very difficult, maybe just like time wise as well, but to be actually making like a lot of physical art. And I mean, even some small things I have been doing, it is like, you know, kind of little books or prints or whatever, just like small things, because it's like kind of easy, practical, as opposed to like larger scale installations, which is like kind of, you know, what I would tend to class my practice as, to be honest. But then being able to make kind of books, publications, prints, and like very kind of research based practice, it's like, I suppose, it's what's like kind of really practical to do right now as well.
Yeah, totally. I think I know immediately since graduating that I haven't had like, what's it, the chance, but like I've always struggled since graduating with like the concept of larger work. I only really made like one big piece after uni, like physically big, which I showed at Generator Projects during a takeover, I think like less than a year after we graduated. So, and that was because I was doing the graduate residency at DJ Cat. So I like had still access to these facilities where I could like go in, like mull myself away and make this work and do it. And like I made a huge vinyl work, and I love that piece. I still love that piece, but I think since then my work has like, I think like many artists to have this situation where like your work naturally adapts to like the environment that you're in and like the space that you're working and living in. So like me thinking about making big work, I love big work and I would love to have the chance to do that again, but I think where my brain is at, where like my like day-to-day work is at, like as a working adult, I guess it you know, oh god, I'm an adult, is like makes that change, if that makes sense. So like, I mean, physically the studio that I share with my partner Luke, who you know well, is small and it's a desk. Like it's like we have a lot of stuff in here and it's great, but like it's a desk space and like a printer and stuff. So like I'm not casting anything in this room. Like that's not gonna happen. So I guess it's just like, I mean, I remember years ago learning about an artist, and I wish I could remember her name, but she graduated university, and I think she may even gave a talk at DJ Cat or something. I think that's maybe why it's coming into my head. But she graduated, and then in the immediate year after she graduated, all she had access to was pencils, basically, for whatever reason. Like, and she just made these most incredible, like, detailed pencil works for the next year. And then she moved, and then she had access to different things, and her practice changed again. So I think it's just like an ethos of like how you grow as a person. Doesn't mean that like, oh god, right now all I can make is digital work, so that's my whole life. Like, no, it's going to change again inevitably.
Just you need to adapt to having one of those nifty post studio practices, you know, everything's on a desk.
Whoa. I desk hop, hi. Or is it hot desk? Hot desk?
I've never heard desk hop before.
Maybe it's hot desk, maybe that's what I meant.
Yeah, so but I mean, well, you kind of mentioned well, we've both mentioned DJ CAD and degree show and graduating, etc., etc. I mean, do you want to talk a wee bit about what, like, well, I mean, what degree show was like, and then how it has kind of developed since then? If you're saying that has kind of condensed and intensified, like what you're actually making. So maybe it'd be like worthwhile kind of starting with degree show, even though that seems like ages ago. I mean, actually, what I noticed the other day was it's almost 3 years to the day that since we like left it to be examined before it actually the degree show actually opened, and I'm like, that feels like another world away completely, you know.
I mean, especially in this like the time of COVID, like it just feels so distant, and I'm just like thinking about 3 years of our degree show. I'm just thinking like, you know, this is the second year of people not getting a degree show, and like what's that like? It just immediately makes my brain think of that, which I guess I should be selfish and just think about myself, but I'm so humble. But yeah, I guess our degree shows were interesting because they were like on the same floor, which was great, that we could like walk between our spaces, which was really cool. It was like a nice like full circle. To give context, me and Jamie like lived in a flat together in first year. We were in halls together, and that's kind of like how our friendship started. So it was like nice to like be back like in the same vicinity, which was really cool. And I guess like tangentially, like between our work, there was like the use of plaster, We spent a lot of time in
Yes.
in the casting workshop in that last year. Oh my god, I think we wanted to die and kill technicians and all the rest of it. So not to name names.
No,
but...
I think you know, like even though you know, being in Scotland, we didn't pay tuition fees. I definitely like scraped so much of that back by the amount of plaster that I used. It's unreal. Yeah.
Didn't you have like rebar in yours as well, like metal rebar? Yeah. Really went to town.
Yeah, I was
get as much
all
as
the supplies.
That material fee was worth it.
Yes, I know. After like, you know, 3 years of hardly using workshops, to be honest, it was 4th year, and I was like, I'm going to utilize this. I'm going to actually like exploit this as much as I can. Just use all the material.
So much plaster, and then we also, I guess, had like film connections. I mean, mine was we both used analog technology, I guess, to an extent.
Yes.
But yours was with a slide projector. Which was pretty cool. And then I went for VHS tapes because I clearly hate myself. That was an ordeal. I had to, the way my degree show was laid out, I had a TV behind a sculpture basically, and it was against a wall, and there was no remote for this VHS player that I had, so I had to get a big steak every day. And so like I basically, all these other people were like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go around the degree show and see everything, and I had to like wait till the final day because I couldn't leave my VHSs alone. And like everyone else was like, oh, I've started working, I'm not going to be at the degree show, I like have a job now. And I'm like, no, I'm going to be at the degree show with my big stick. So I had to like rewind the tapes every 4 hours and do that, which was
I wasn't quite that bad. I mean, like, yeah, we probably tasked ourselves by, you know, using those technologies, and I suppose when I'd literally just found the old slide projector in like near the studio when in 4th year, and it was like broken, so it wasn't using, and it wasn't working, and then I would just like took it apart and reassembled it and tried to get it working again. It was, and I was like, oh, this is great. But then didn't really think maybe kind of logistically, oh, then you need to actually go in and switch it on every day. And also the official kind of lumen bulbs that you need for those types of projectors are super expensive. And I didn't know that. And I ordered like a couple. But then eventually I think went to B&Q or something like that and found that you can get ones that are like a couple of quid and then just kind of pick off the lens, so it basically does the same thing. But yeah, I can remember like kind of hating myself during degree show because the bulbs actually burn out really quickly, especially if they're being left on for hours and hours and hours. Which is probably not good for the environment, actually, saying that.
No, thinking about that, I'm just thinking about the cupboard full of plaster I still have. So what do you do with your degree show after you finish with it? That's a really good question. I've asked a couple people that over the years, like what did you do with your Jamie, actually thinking about it, because yours was also
in my
very
parents'
big
garage.
Of course,
basically takes up half of the garage, basically, along with all my other crap. No, but like I can remember in building the like the kind of train car part of it, when because our good old tutor friend Michael Visocki, like he was
Michael
real in the amount that he helped me in that last year, like especially with that like the metal work. But he's like, because I was with him for like basically every day for weeks on end, and he was just like telling me all these stories and about his degree show and stuff, and how, you know, that when we were doing that in 2018, that had maybe been, I don't know, 20 plus years since he had graduated, but it had only been like a couple of years previous that he'd actually sold his degree show work, but it had been in his parents' attic. So I'm like, that's going to happen to me.
It's worth keeping, clearly. I mean, I was considering reusing bits, but maybe I won't.
I mean, yeah, I kind of thought that the same, because like there's so many different elements, so like why not reuse parts? But yeah,
it's very hard. I mean, talking about your expensive bulbs made me think about my expensive cardboard. Ew, why? I for my degree show was basically I'm like covering my eyes because I'm thinking about her, like how expensive those were. But I bought the largest cardboard boxes you can commercially buy, which are made for pallets, so like the size of a pallet, and they were massive, and I had 6 of the things, and I still have them, and I don't know what to do with them. And I screen printed them, like I custom screen printed them, and they looked great and they looked sick. One of them got water damage, so that was fun. But
I think that was partly my fault as well.
I don't think that was your fault.
No, because it wasn't it one day that we were trying to move them so you could maybe like get into the VHS or do something, but then it was like there was the bucket of water.
I don't think that was, because I remember somebody phone. Do I remember someone phoning me, or I came in and it was wet? I think somebody might have phoned me and said, like, this was obviously before Handon, a couple of days before Handon, somebody had phoned me, I think, and said, Lizzie, your box is wet. And it might have been us moving it in hindsight. I actually hadn't even thought about that. Please don't feel guilty for that. It's fine. It was my idea to put buckets of water in them to weigh them
cardboard,
down.
Yes.
Cardboard and plaster and water. Great idea. Like, couldn't have just bought some sandbags.
Sand, yeah.
Yeah, it was so stupid. And to be fair, at the time, I think it was something. I think Ronnie, lovely Ronnie, our technician, not to throw him under the bus, but I think he did say something. They say, "Oh, just use water. Like, it's like you don't have to pay for it, and I can give you the paint tubs." And I was like, "Sick," not thinking about the fact it was plaster and cardboard and a lot of cables. So that was really sensible. Yeah. I showed that work again at New Contemporaries, as you did, at the Royal Scottish Academy the following year, and I used sand that time.
Good.
They were very like, no, we are not taking buckets of water from you, you complete weirdo. Sand only. And I was like, okay, that's fair. That's understandable.
That's a lot. Like, that's throwback to Degree Show. I wasn't expecting us to like speak so much about that, but
I was thinking as well, like, it was a very important. It's a very important time for every art student, but
yeah,
it's very important. And the more you talk about it, the more you feel like, oh, I could talk about this forever. I am remembering how much I spoke about this at the time and how it was my life.
I can remember one point in the opening night where there were like quite a lot of people in the studio. I was like sharing with people, and at one point, like, someone came up and asked me a little bit about the piece. So naturally, I was just explaining a bit without trying to sound too arsey, But then someone else just kind of leaned in to listen, and then another person did, and then I was like, oh, gather around. It just felt like a big kind of golden circle, like you were in primary school or something like that. Everyone just like sit on the floor cross-legged, and I'll lecture you about this.
Oh my god, I'm just like pairing that image with your like turtleneck Degree Show image, and like thinking about like you were presenting like and I love you dearly, but presenting full art wanker, like just like really leaning into it.
I don't know what my thought process behind that was. Again, it was with Fabio. Like Fabio took it. Fabio took it for me, and I took like his, and I thought, oh yeah, this is a great idea. Going to be like look really smart, professional, wear a black turtleneck, and then just trying to like stare at the camera, and the fact that it's on the university website, it was printed in the publication, everything, it's there forever. And I'm like, why didn't you just pick a nice smiling photograph?
I hope while you're editing this that you've put it on the screen. This is Jamie's face.
Right there.
Like here. No, I think it was a great photo. It just obviously the turtleneck just takes it somewhere.
It's the serious alter ego, artistic alter ego.
That's it. That's it.
And now I severely regret it, and now my art practice is in a better place.
That's it. You've learned from the experience. It's all fine.
But I suppose, like that piece, it was all about kind of collections, and I suppose kind of archives in a way, and fads, and that's like, as you said in your bio, that's a lot about what your practice is about, where your interests lie. So how's that kind of developed over the years since graduating then?
I guess I think more and more now about like it's something that I talked about a lot in my degree show and that like final body of work at uni was like the concept of like collectibles being pointless and not worth anything, not worth your time, not worth your energy, not worth your money. And I kind of really like grasped onto that as I moved forward after graduating, and was still interested in specific, not necessarily the concept of like masses of things, but the concept of like collectibles and like what you label as such. And that led to a whole body of work about a sticker album. A Panini sticker album that I did a whole basically 2 years on, that I'd had since I was I think I got it in like 2007 or 8, and I'd never completed it, and I then spent the next 2 years trying to complete it. The album is now complete. I have all the stickers for it. I've never stuck them in because I'm still undecided as to whether that kind of ruins it, but to like have the book as like the childhood work and the bag of stickers as like the adult work, but I've never fully come to like a fruition with that still all these years after finishing it.
It's just in like a separate bag. It's not even as if you've just put each
no
sticker
they're
in
literally do I even have it here? Hang on.
Wow.
So which is which? This is where I go. Yeah, so this bag on the back is the stickers I needed.
Right.
And this
so it's not actually that many.
No, it's probably about 30 stickers,
right,
that I needed. And this is the stickers that I had to collect to get these stickers.
Right, okay.
So it was very much like a concept of, I don't know, the process of like having all these things to have everything. So with stickers are very much part of like trading collectibles. So people don't want money. They want a thing that they want. So you have to like basically, I mean, for this sticker album as well, if anybody knows which, very niche thing, I'm so hipster, which was an Italian comic series that Disney took some interest in the early 2000s and bought the copyright for. And they produced a television series that ran for I think 2 or 3 seasons, and it was a cartoon and it was quite successful. It was on like kids' morning television. And then in the UK, BBC Magazine started producing an accompanying magazine with it. And in that, they printed the original Witch comics from start all the way through. And that's where I totally got into it. I saw it on the magazine shelf. I tried it, and I became a bit of a comic book fan as a kid from that. And so you can imagine that me talking about that, you've never heard of it. I imagine Jamie or like briefly heard me talk about it before, but it's not something that many people outside of Europe actually really know, because Disney tried to bring it to North America, they tried to bring it to Asia, and it flopped massively. It was only really ever successful in like mainland Europe and parts of the UK through the TV series, which is very funny because if you watch the TV series now, they have American accents, so it's obviously made for North America, and it just didn't work out. So actually somebody else we went to uni with, Melina Dumi, who's a wonderful artist, watercolor extraordinaire human, was one of the first people that I had ever spoken to Witch about who knew what I was talking about.
Right.
And Melina grew up in Greece, so that was amazing to like have that like weird thing. And she was like, oh my god, yes, huge part of my childhood, read the comics, watched the TV show, and I was like, yes, me. So you can imagine that thing and the sticker album and the stump accompanying stickers was quite hard to find, being rather niche. So I basically, Panini also very funnily is an Italian company, and that's the company we all know and love for making football sticker albums every single year. So weird that an Italian comic series and an Italian sticker company combines, which is cool. But I found a website called laststicker.com, which is a website for sticker enthusiasts. And I made a profile and I started trading. So I dug around on not just eBay, but like German eBay. I found there's a site called Rakuten, which is very popular in other parts in Europe, especially in France, which is basically like the French Gumtree. So I was digging around a lot on there. I got a contact through French Rakuten who seemed to just have like packets of these things unopened, and I was like, me, I'll have a bit of that. So it was literally like I had Google alerts on this. I was like doing everything I could. I was trying to like buy before I found laststicker.com as well. I was like oh, I'm just going to have to buy blind bags. I'm just going to have to, which is what the bags are called when you don't know what's in them. So I'm just going to have to buy these bags. I'm just going to have to do what I did as a kid, like do all this work. And that's kind of how I started, accumulated like a base collection of stuff I didn't need. Don't think I found any of the ones I actually needed by doing that. And then found Last Sticker and then was like, oh, great. So this backlog I now have, I can put on my profile and trade things I actually need. And it was an amazing process. I traded with people from all over the world to get these stickers.
That's incredible.
And it's a trust scenario. You put it in the post and you hope it gets there. Like, and because they're so small, it's like for a lot of Europe,
trusting that they're giving you the right thing as well, you know.
You're trusting they're not going to send you a piece of cardboard, but like so the process itself was super interesting and time consuming, and I never want to work out how much money I spent on it because I think it would hurt me dearly. But it just to think that I still have a laststicker.com profile. I still have all these stickers listed here. If anybody ever contacts me and needs a sticker, I've got it. I don't need to trade for it. I don't need any of my stickers anymore. Like I have 100. So basically what happens on laststicker.com was when you complete an album, you like list it as 100%. So basically you're like,
I see.
So I'm now in the position in Last Sticker that I like don't need anything back, but I will happily give people these stickers if they want them. Like they're there.
So so it's almost like kind of working towards completion, almost like a game as well, where there's like that kind of progress and you're like, completed it.
Yeah, totally. It's, I mean, and I made a zine out of it in the end as well. Like I think something I struggled with for a while with the process was like, it was all about the process and it wasn't necessarily about like this imagery that I associated a lot with my childhood that has kind of been voided from it. So I really wanted to use it all. And I ended up making a zine series, which I think is also by my feet. Everything's on the floor. Yeah,
we can pull up another image here.
Oh.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there you go. So I made the zine and it's a glossy A4 zine. So it's the same size as the magazine I got as a kid. And I found specialist glue that means that when you pull the see if I can do this without wrecking it, when you pull, basically everything comes with a free gift, which is a couple of the stickers that I didn't need, and when you pull it off, it has on this because it's been on it a while, but it basically is that glue that doesn't leave a mark underneath, you know, like when you buy a magazine with a free gift and you can just rip it off. It's like that. So that kind of ended up being like the combination of it. The work I talked about earlier, which I made at Generator as part of my residency, which was large, was a load of digits on a wall, and it was a list of every single sticker that I had listed on laststicker.com at the time. So it was like a weird, like taking digits out of what would a childhood activity, I guess. But it was a really cool thing to work on. And I now just kind of have all these pieces. So I'd love to like kind of have the time to think about what it all is in that process. It's actually very like nice for me to speak about it because I haven't something that I've spoke about in a very long time. But yeah, it's quite cool.
Do you see yourself kind of going back to the stickers in some way, or do you feel like that's like a thing, you know, now that you've got all the stickers and 100% completion and you feel like that's kind of done?
Yeah,
you know?
I think I thought about for a while like doing some sort of performance where I like actually stick the stickers in the book and like record it or do it in front of people or something, but I don't know, I added it for so long that it felt pointless in a way. Like I was like, I know I have the stickers, why does anyone else need to know? So like it was quite a weird thing. I think now actually thinking like probably maybe a year has passed since I like worked on it intensely, so like maybe over a year now, maybe a year and a half, like so it feels a little bit fresh again, like speaking about it doesn't feel like the same thing I've been talking about for ages. But I guess that's where like fads comes into my practice, like this idea of like everyone as a kid being obsessed with panini stickers.
Well, I mean, you said about the like how they made like kind of the football mags, like sticker mags and stuff like that as well. And I mean, that used to be something I would do, you know, incessantly as like in my childhood, and you would always go around to the corner shop and get like the pound packet of stickers that would give you like 5 stickers, and then just like for like the SPL, like to try and get as many the Scottish teams like filled as you can, and then inevitably, you know, because they're so expensive and there's so many, well, they're relatively cheap, but then like when you're paying the money to try and get, you know, 80 odd pages, then that's a lot of money, especially for a child that's just wanting like a couple of sweets, you know. So then you're like, then you're going into the playground with all your mates and you're starting like doing this wee kind of dodgy trades, and you're like, here, I'll give you like three of these if you give me the cup and stuff like that. And it's just like, what's going on? And then but then it's like year on year it's the exact same thing with probably 80% of the same players and the same things, but you do it again.
You do it again because they look slightly different in their picture. They've had a new picture taken, so
and they've got a new strip, so it's like, oh, you need to do it again, you know. But then I never finished them. I mean, like I don't think I got it as bad as some people. Like some people were like, they needed to complete them year on year, and I think I would try and do a couple of pages and then eventually like give up because I'm thinking it's not really worth it, you know.
I mean, sticker albums are a really, really good example of a collectible that is marketed as a collectible that is not really worth anything at the end of the day, but is the process itself is worth it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people would argue that those sticker albums in their childhood, they weren't walking around thinking, consumerism. They were walking around going, I'm so excited to see my mate and try and like work out if who's got this and who's got what, and I'm gonna have to talk to so and so, and that'll be it. And I guarantee you, so many people like, and thinking about how long Panini's been going, and there were different sticker outlets for a while, but Panini's obviously been like our godsend for forever. But it's to think about how many generations of people have had a Panini experience or a sticker experience, and like that, how many friendships have started from that, and how many people look back and go like, oh yeah, I guess I really became friends with them because we started trading Panini stickers. Like that is so cool.
And then you're kind of almost starting new kind of relationships with people, you know, 10 years on, trying to get these stickers from when you were a child, and you're meeting up, well not meeting, but like you're trading with people from America or France or whatever, you know. So
yeah,
kind of, I mean, human relationship thing is really interesting there.
It's super cool. I still have all the envelopes. Some people were obviously very like, I trade all the time, I don't need to do anything, and it would just be like an envelope with your name on it and nothing else, but I still kept it. And some people would be like, this is my first trade, I'm so excited, and like write you a note, and you'd be like, I'm so excited for you too, this is so cool. Like what a cool like intro. I'm glad I could be the first person you traded that sort of thing. So
I got a t-shirt from a good friend that I went to like the RCA with, and she's from Japan, and it came in this kind of relatively large padded envelope, like a t-shirt she designed, but because it came from Japan, and the amount of documentation you needed with that, and like customs forms and all that, but the envelope itself was like a thing of beauty because it had all these stamps and like notes and writing and everything on it. So I kept that, and I was like, oh, that's like, I can't get rid of that because it almost feels like you're wasting it. Yeah.
I had a thing in, I can't remember what it was, but for whatever reason, I got a parcel from America when I was a kid, and I literally put the US airmail like envelope on my wall because I was like, that is so cool. Like, I've never seen one of those in the flesh. What? They're just in movies. The US airmail looks like that. Great. And it, it had like the like blue and white and red stripes on it, and I was like, I'm done. That's so cool. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I mean, I do a lot. I mean, I say I do a lot, but I've been running a postal project for like almost 4 years with my friend Leon in Switzerland.
Oh yes. Do you want to say a wee bit more about that?
Oh yeah, sure. I don't have it actually at the moment. It's with Leon, but basically we have a sketchbook that my friend Leon, sorry, I should explain who Leon is. Leon Leon Sluice is an amazing artist who's based in Lucerne. She actually just moved to Basel, saying that, but based in Switzerland, who I met while I was on my university exchange in Finland, in good old Rovaniemi and Lapland. So hanging out in the snow with Santa, and it was great. It was an immediate friendship, and somebody who I've lucky enough to stay connected to and to keep working with and try to see annually, and is an important part of my life. Just before graduating in 2018, I actually in that January I went to Lucerne to stay with her for a long weekend. It was lovely to see her, spend time with her, and while we were there, we were like, how do we? Leon's not one for much social media, so it's very hard to keep on top of like what she's been up to. So it's like, how do we like get all of these things that we want to tell each other all the time and like not have to do it through email or like make it like, dear Elizabeth, like, or anything weird, like just make it chill and nice and genuine and like exactly how we're feeling in that moment. And we came up with this concept of like sending a sketchbook backwards and forwards to each other. And we were like, right, we'll post it to each other every 2 weeks. That we finished within a year, like all this. It is now 2021. We started this in 2018. We've still not finished the sketchbook. Leon now has a child. Like, this is how much our lives have changed. Like literally in 3 years, it's just like the amount that's happened. And that sketchbook is like such a joy to look in, like every time it comes. And I mean, I haven't had it for a couple of months at the moment, actually, thinking about it. But not to slate you, Leon. I love you. It'll come when it comes.
Hurry up.
But it like we've all moved flats multiple times in that time scale. Like, so the addresses keep changing. But we made sort of a pact, like in the first thing, to like keep the envelope that it came in, and to, if we wrote any additional letters that were like separate to the sketchbook, to keep all that. I mean, we've had some good stuff, but that like culminated in, well, not culminated, it's still an ongoing thing in a relationship, but it led really nicely to an exhibition that we did at Generator when I was working there as a committee member, called Post, funny enough, where she runs an artist run initiative in Lucerne called M35. So she started with a wonderful other artist in Lucerne called Pablo Stetler. And they, similar to like how Generator and Transmission and Market Gallery and all those places work, created like a little arts community in Lucerne and showcased work out of disused shop fronts around Lucerne. And it's really, really cool. But that ended up coming together as sort of like a, hey, that Post idea that we've been doing with each other? How about we do a show in Dundee and you pick the artist in Lucerne and they send us the work, and you guys don't come until the show's done, and I put it all together based on like what you send. So it became like a celebration of like not just the final artworks, but of like packing material in a weird way. So it was a really cool exhibition. I'm really glad we did it.
So they didn't like have kind of any input into how it was curated or anything like that. It was just like send material, then you. Yeah.
I said if they wanted any specific instructions on how something should be put up, they had to put it in the package.
Right.
So that it would also be displayed with the work. So yeah, so that was all like very like in the open. So I ended up putting everything on the floor.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I think I can send you some pictures of it. I'm trying to think where they would be. That was like like the biggest curating job I did during my time on the committee, and I like ran the whole thing from start to finish, and it was a joy. It was a pure joy to do. But everything was placed on the floor, and I mapped out. We only showed in one gallery as well, so we basically wanted to keep the small gallery spare so that we could do events through November and December for Christmas, and to open it up more to our members at that time of year. So we basically in Generator projects, there's two galleries, a larger one and a smaller one. The smaller one we like kept separate, and the big one is where I showed this show, and I mapped out a large rectangle on the floor, and then placed all the work in it with all of the accoutrement, as it were. And I suspended some of it from the ceiling, but it just had to line basically up with this rectangle on the floor was kind of the idea. Just to keep with the chronological timeline, I guess. Us getting the Windfall team together kind of happened in March. And I think COVID had started.
Yeah, like it was because I can remember like moving back up to Glasgow when we started having.
That's right. I remember you having a whole shenanigans with get everything out your studio, and oh goodness. Yeah.
Let's not get into
so
that.
No, sorry.
But no, like so it was like kind of right at the beginning of lockdown, but it seemed to like, I mean, obviously I wasn't there when Luke was initially pitching it to you and stuff, but it seemed to kind of naturally happen at quite a good point as well.
It did. It really weirdly like fell out that way. We'd been talking about it for a couple of months. Luke had applied for funding with VACMA in late January, I think it was, early February, and then but it set for that funding, and then it was a case of going like, right, well, can we do it alone? Probably not. Do we need a team of people that we trust? Yes. And that kind of like naturally led on, and we'd actually at the start of March gone on holiday to Budapest and Vienna. Whoa. how
The
culture.
days you could travel.
Lots of time. So we went to Budapest and we had a lovely time, and COVID was slowly creeping in to try and ruin it. And then we got the train to Vienna, and they got to Vienna, and our Airbnb host met us, and they were like, "Have you phoned your parents? Do they know you're alive?" And we were like, "What? Why would they not think we're alive?" And they were like, "Well, there's this whole thing called coronavirus, and you might want to watch the news." And that was a huge like, oh shit moment. So we got to Vienna and everything was closed, and to jump by that like made Vault Gallery kind of happen. So we were stuck in Vienna for a couple of days, like supposed to be hitting up all these museums, seeing all these exhibitions that we couldn't see. And one of the only things that were open, basically in Vienna, if you know it, the city, there's a museum quarter, which is kind of like this gigantic square of like museum on top of museum on top of museum on top of museum. Like it's just like, so basically it's like where the Natural History Museum has been for hundreds of years, and that's kind of where they've like chose to like build on the Contemporary Art Gallery and the Architecture Gallery. There's like all these spaces, and the amazing independent bookshop, and like just kind of everything in this space. And there's like multiple tunnel points into this area, which in Scots is called a pend, which I found out last year, and it makes me very happy. A good word. And in these pens, they had vending machines. They also used them as outdoor gallery spaces. So they would basically, each pen was basically tailored to a different discipline. So you had like an illustration pen, you had a literature pen, you had a sound pen, and so everything was themed. And they also had accompanied these little gallery spaces with vending machines, and that was basically like an outdoor 24/7 store for that little gallery. So each artist would like pick what would go in it. So for some, it was a miniature version of like a publication made out of the prints that you saw like framed on the wall in this pen. So when I say like framed on the wall, I mean like, you know, like at bus stops when posters are in big like plastic cases.
Yeah.
Like basically like that. So be like, oh, here's a little publication that you can have for €2. And some of them were like, I'm a contemporary artist and I'm going to give you a sugar cube and you're going to deal with it. Pay me €2 and have this sugar cube. But yeah, that like led naturally to us being like, this is a really good idea. Just like having a vending machine that's accessible and like kind of voids this whole like need for a gallery, like a need for an internal institutional space. Like is this something we can do? And then that led to like basically the rest of us, the trip, us like sitting in cafes and trying to work out. And it's time well spent, I think. So Vogue is hopefully coming to fruition. So it's called Vault Gallery because it's yeah, I know, I'm telling you. Bloody hell. It's called Vault Gallery because it's named after the closest subway stop to the museum quarter in Vienna, which is Volkstheater, which means the People's Theatre. Yeah. So it really just translates to the People's Gallery, which is really nice. And yeah, it's a space for emerging artists. They get 50 works to dispense in the machine. Hopefully we'll go monthly. If it sells out faster than that, we'll do it faster. We've got 3 artists lined up. We're waiting for a space to confirm us because COVID's been fun. To like host us basically, and yeah, it's really exciting. But that trip really like got us amped up to be like, we're gonna make lots of things, and then we came back and Windfall kind of like commenced, I guess, in that time. Let's talk more about Windfall because that's also your baby. Like it's not just something that Luke came up with and that we all jumped on. Like it's everybody's child at this point.
I think kind of like you said about working with Generator, like I don't know if you necessarily like underestimated, but just because I think we all knew it was going to be a huge task because it is like kind of setting up a business / gallery / it's a publication, but like, yeah, you're kind of setting all these things up, and we needed to write a constitution, write contracts, and work with stockists and create a brand and all the kind of marketing that goes behind that, but then also be interviewing artists and working with artists. And so there are all these different facets that are to Windfall, but then there's only the 5 of us, so it's actually like a lot of work, especially when all of us do other forms of work or study or whatever.
Everyone's got a day job.
Yeah. So so that the way that I think it's like a lot to do, but at the same time, I think we've all, without like speaking for anyone, I think we have all learned so much from it. Like you said, doing Generator, just like and then being able to kind of chop and change what our roles are and learn from each other, and even just our weekly conversations, being able to like needing to question each other and like what we're doing like individually, but like as a kind of collective, because that's kind of essentially what it is.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
how the next stage progresses, and even in this very short period, of kind of 12 or 13 months of working, how things are already needing to change about like what we're doing, and thinking, we wrote that constitution 12 months ago, well, not even that, like 9 months ago, but it already needs to change because the way we work is, we've found that it's evolved and different. And so I think that's such a fruitful process, being able to do that, but then also how that feeds into, I'm sure, like our day-to-day lives and our own personal artistic practice and other things we're doing, like in my day-to-day job, like I'm able to feed that sort of stuff into Windfall, but then at the same time, some of the things that we're doing at Windfall is like helping me in my job and stuff like that. So it's amazing how these things kind of come about, but I've found it just like a hugely beneficial and fun experience, and I've loved doing it, and I will continue to love doing it.
Yay. Tiny claps. I fully agree with that entire sentiment. Yeah, I think there's and I have continued to appreciate working collaboratively with people over the last couple of years, because the amount that just working with other people teaches you.
One thing that I'd tasked everyone with is this tracks Tutopia. Now I don't know where I kind of came up with this idea, but I suppose it was more so to just kind of create a community soundtrack in a way where like imagine it's the end of the world and we all jump on a ship, and then we play a soundtrack either going towards utopia or dystopia, whichever the person feels like is more pregnant.
When you wrote that to me, I literally could only picture the end of the Lord of the Rings.
Why Lord of the Rings?
Because at the end of the Lord of the Rings,
because
they get on a boat.
See, like when I said ship, I think like spacecraft, not actual like sailing ship.
I'm like you're getting on the boat to the elves, like like Bilbo's gonna die. I'm Frodo's going with him. Whoa, twist! Like that's what my brain goes.
In that case, I'm thinking about that. Then the music I would choose for it would be far more depressing, because that's a really sad scene.
It's a sad moment. I don't know. I have never read the Lord of the Rings, but I don't think Frodo gets on the boat in the book. But I might have got that completely wrong.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. Actually.
I don't know. I'd have to ask my mom. She's a big old Tolkien fan. She's a giant nerd.
But then so you've submitted 3 tracks. So do you want to go through them, and what like why if there's a reason why you chose them, and then like which one we're going to play out the episode with?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Courtney Barnett, song is Depreston. Courtney Barnett is when I discovered Courtney Barnett, I was like, I will never be as cool as this person. Like this person is just the be all and end all of what cool is in my brain. Her music is fantastic. One of my favorite songs by her is a song about pot noodles. It's called Four Packs a Day. And when you hear that title, you think, oh, that's about cigarettes. It's about her eating 4 packets of instant noodles every single day, and that just makes me very happy.
It's almost like your milk project.
I mean, literally is like my spiritual song to that project is really. I got really into milk for a while, just FYI. But yeah, Courtney Barnett, Depression is a banger of a song, but a lot of the lyrics you could take positively or negatively, which is kind of like why I chose it. I feel like it could easily flip either way, which is quite cool. Yeah, she's one of the last people I saw in concert before COVID happened, so extra bonus for that. Next one I have is Alessandro Cortini, and the song is Pardonner. And yeah, Alessandro Cortini used to play in the touring band for 9 Inch Nails. So that puts you in perspective. Yeah, super cool dude. Like obviously has lived quite a rock and roll life. His music that he kind of puts under his own name out with kind of like his session work is very electronic and mystical.
Yes, I mean, like when I hadn't heard of any of these tracks that you submitted, but when I listened to this one, it was almost like, I don't know, it just felt really kind of melancholic, kind of gritty. I don't know, kind of Scandi crime drama where a detective has just found out that his family has done something horrible, and he's storming away into the mountains with this like soundtrack beating over his head. That's kind of what it reminded. Oh, that's a very vivid picture. That's
I mean, I'm glad it did that to you, because that I would recommend listening to the whole album this is from, because it's just called Avanti, which is just the most gorgeous album in the world. But I didn't know who Alessandro Cortini was until that trip I went to Lucerne that January in 2018, and Leon was like, some of my pals are going to this gig, do you want to go? And I was like, okay. And most of Leon's pals just stood outside chain smoking and drinking all night, and the gig itself was very, very chill. It was in a tiny like little kind of what was used as a club kind of sometimes, and would be rented out for gigs, and the people who were actually there like to listen all sat on the floor, because it was that kind of gig. Like, it's just, and I've never experienced a gig like it where you just sit and you just listen and you just like totally zone into what's happening, and then like you're like, oh, that's done now, okay, and then you stand up and leave. Like, it was just a totally different gig experience than anything else I've been to in my life, and I'd happily do it again. But the album Avanti basically is Alessandro found a load of recordings when his grandfather passed away. His grandfather had taken on like Super 8 and different film cameras over the years, and this is him basically, the reason it sounds like a soundtrack is he's basically soundtracking these films.
I see.
So the reason that's totally why you can like really put narratives to them so easily. But when you said Traxotopia, I was like, or like dystopia, or utopia, I was like, Heard Now is a great one that I think when you listen to the first beat of it, you're like, well, this is depressing. This is dystopia, right? But there's some sort of beautiful negativity about them. They're just great. And that album, like, has made me cry before. Probably will make me cry again at some point in my life. Like, it's just stunning.
I think that's a quote of the episode, beautiful negativity.
Beautiful negativity. Yeah.
Maybe that's the title of the episode. There you go.
Thanks. There you go. And then the last song is a bit of a 2010 boogie for me. This is Big Waves by Jenny and Johnny. Jenny and Johnny never made any other album apart from the album the song is on. I don't know what happened to Jenny and Johnny. I don't know who they are, but I'm grateful they made this album, because it reminds me very intensely of being 15 and 16 and thinking that the epitome of cool music was on the Urban Outfitters music player, which basically on Urban Outfitters website, they used to have a music player. And I was like, well, only cool music played at Urban Outfitters, therefore. And it just very much gives me that vibe. But I actually don't think I came across this album or this song until 2014, because I found it at Groucho's in the £1 bin. So I don't, but the album itself came out in 2010. So I think I probably heard it on the Urban Outfitters music player, and that's kind of why it comes into my head in that kind of way. But I know I physically didn't own it till 2014 because I have the album. But for those who don't know, Groucho's was a dynamic and notorious record store.
Dundee.
Groucho's was legendary, and it sadly closed last year, very start of last year, I think it was, when the owner passed away very sadly and suddenly. So the people that have come out of Groucho's, the ethos that it holds is so valuable to Dundee, and I'm so grateful that we got to have it our whole time when we were students, and to like bathe in that amazingness of that space, because that £1 bin, my god, I've got some good albums from that £1 bin.
And they even gave away like free vinyls. There was just like like boxes of vinyls at the door that you would just like pick up on your way out. Brilliant. It
was great. But yeah, I love all three of those songs, and I thought I fitted your brief well. I know you only asked for one or two, but I got excited.
No, but like I think that's like one of the really exciting things about creating this as well, is that I'm learning loads of new tunes that I hadn't previously heard of as well, and it's also getting people's interpretations of the theme. I don't know. yeah, whatever the end of the world might be.
Yeah. I'm going to say it again. I said at the start, I'll say it again, everybody needs to listen to Courtney Barnett. Please go make her your number one choice in everything. Like, she's just cool. She's just so cool.
So is that what we're playing out with then?
Oh, I don't know, actually. I hadn't actually decided. I feel like Pardon Air is so beautiful that everybody should hear it. I would say Depressing is a bop, but I don't know if it's the greatest thing Courtney Barnett has ever made. I think it's wonderful. I think 4 Packs a Day is the best thing Courtney Barnett has ever made, but that's me. But so I think maybe we'll go with Pardon Air by Alessandro Cortini, because I think that will make you listen to it. I feel like my description didn't do it justice, weirdly.
But yeah, no, thank you very much for joining and telling a bit more about your practice. It's been really fascinating. I'll pop your tags below so people go check her out in your own time. Thanks very much for taking part, and here's Alessandro Cortini.